Okay, good evening. Welcome to the April 18th, 2011 edition of the Amelia Village Council meeting. I would call this meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. and ask the fiscal officer for a roll call, please.
Derek?
Here.
Todd?
Here.
Renee?
Here.
Bob?
Here.
Tim?
Here.
Chuck?
Here.
Leroy?
Here. Welcome,
Full
everyone.
house.
Did we forget somebody?
Oh, full house.
Good job. So far, we're doing good. Welcome, everyone, to those of you here in the audience this evening, as well as those who are watching this broadcast on either Claremont County Communications Channel number 22 or on the village website, www.ameliavillage.com. We encourage all residents of the village of Amelia to weigh in with any input on based on what you hear and see here in the council meetings. We are seeking your input and would like to have more of it, so hope to hear from you. Let's move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Let the record show that council has had their council packets in advance of this meeting and has had the opportunity to review the contents. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the from the April 4, 2011 meeting.
I make the motion that we approve it.
Second.
Any discussion, questions, changes? Roll call.
Derek?
Yay.
Todd?
Yay.
Renee?
Yay.
Bob?
Yay.
Tim?
Yay.
Chuck?
Yay.
All in favor?
Just a typo there. That's
Okay.
nothing there. All right, so the minutes from April 4, 2011 are approved. Now for the ceremonial opening of the Morse House bids.
Drum roll.
Silence.
That was it.
We have no Morse House bids. So,
Was there a financial figure when they put those bids out?
Yes, I think they had
Yes.
a
minimum bid.
Yeah.
That's what killed it right there.
Hmm.
Because I remember, I've said ever since I got involved in that mess, that you weren't going to get what the appraiser said it was worth.
Hmm.
Nobody. And I mean, the only thing that you got is a lot, and nobody's paying that much money for that lot. But if you just, the highest bid sort of period and don't say anything, you might at least get somebody to say, maybe, or not.
I think we need to set a minimum bid again. We just need to change it, maybe lower it. I just think to open it to a floor for no bid whatsoever.
That's when the dollar bid
Yeah,
ends up winning it.
Yeah, so that's true. No, I won't argue that point. But it'd be better than sitting there, which we would wind up having to pay the freight to haul it away.
But right now, we're not actually paying anything for it to sit there, so.
No, but I mean,
we're not out any money right now.
But
Instead of giving it away for $1, I mean, that would be kind of
yeah,
crazy.
but we will gonna have to pay to tear it down in order to get the lot, like across the town hall. That's that.
If it comes to that.
Yeah. That's
Good
that.
idea what to come out with another bid. And
Well, you can do that.
I like the idea of a lower minimum than what was
Yeah,
originally.
$50,000 is,
Yeah, I think
by
that's-
expression, is ridiculous.
But that's, that's what they appraised it for, so.
Yeah, right.
That's why we kind of threw it out there,
Mhm.
but I think
I
that
wouldn't
it was
I wouldn't
too
want
high
to
to
raise
start
my
with.
house for taxes, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. But I'd like to see, somewhere around 25 or something like that.
Yeah,
But
somewhere in that
as a
neighborhood.
minimum.
Because the lot has a certain value, but then you have to take into consideration whoever buys it has to tear it down, which, they can tear it down themselves.
Or they decide not to tear it down. I mean, you never know.
Did you ever,
The one person who was interested in it wanted to try to keep the house.
is that the one that's got the subdivision going? Kip?
No.
What,
This
somebody else?
was an individual who was,
Because didn't Kip want to use that for an entrance thing? or
We talked
something?
about it at one time.
Yeah, that's a,
He's not moving anything at
no,
all.
that's not viable. Okay, well.
You said
then-
there was one person
there
that,
was one guy who had contacted Julie just about, did it make sense for him to submit even if he wasn't gonna submit at that? And his thought was he would submit what it would cost him to rehab the house to show that he couldn't make it viable if it were at $50,000. And she asked me and I said, no, if they don't make the minimum bid, there's no real point in submitting because it has to be rejected. But whatever information he had, he could certainly give to us, and I'm not aware that he did, but his intent was to keep the house and rehab it. So perhaps if it's a lower bid, I don't know if 25,000 would even make it marketable for him, but certainly he expressed that he had run the numbers, apparently.
Well, I'm comfortable with your suggestion. If you want to make that a motion, I'll second to put a minimum bid out for 25,000, and we'll see where that one goes. I don't want to drop it way down. I mean, that's cutting it in
It's just the
half.
cost of the ad. I mean,
Right.
At this point, we have the packet ready and the contract's ready, you change the number on it, so it's just running the ad is the only expense.
did we just run the, I can't recall, did we run it in the Inquirer or did we run it in the Community Journal? I want to say we got,
I think we ran it in the Inquirer.
yeah. Because when you run in the Community Journal, you get, because they're all tied together.
Right.
I want to say we got about $800 or $900 in the ad.
Okay.
I'm thinking.
All right, well,
I just didn't know, what our expense was for the ad.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's about 800 or 900 then?
does it have to run so many days with the new
Yeah,
bit, with the
that's
new?
right. Yeah, has to run, I think, 3 times for,
Yeah, why wouldn't we want to go ahead, even if they're not submitting the minimum, just go let them submit it, and that way we can get a feel for,
they could, but it would be rejected.
I know it'd be rejected, but we
Right.
get
Well,
a
his
feel
question
for.
was, could it be considered, not whether we would take the paper. Obviously, we'd take whatever paper.
Yeah, I'd
somebody
like,
provided.
anybody
But-
put a bid in, even if it's, 10,000 or
Is there-
whatever, just to see what they think the market value is of the house.
I mean, he certainly could do that. His question was, would it be rejected? And it would be rejected. Because if it doesn't meet the minimum, you can't even grant it.
Here's a random thought. Could we do it where there's an open bid but not have to take them? And if we only got one
If you
bid
set
submitted?
no minimum, your only problem with submitting no minimum is you have to make some sort of reason why you reject the bid. And if somebody comes in with $1 and you didn't set a minimum, why are you rejecting their bid? The only reason you're rejecting their bid is it's not enough. So it's
That's true.
overly discretionary, so it's better to set, from a legal standpoint, set a bid. Because your worst case scenario is if you have like 10 people and they submit $1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, $10. You don't wait to the the guy who bids $10 because he is the high bidder. He has competed, he has submitted a high bid, but it's not what you want. So it is best to submit some sort of minimum, whatever that would be.
That'll work.
So at roughly $900 additional dollars,
It's 900
we
or 1,000.
already got to feed into this thing, so it seems like we're gonna have to spend an additional 900.
Well, what about lowering it a little bit more, just to try and coax a bid? Lowering it down from 25.
If you go to 25 and you get it, then you're way ahead. I mean, you might
Yeah.
get it.
Well, that's what I'm
You
saying,
just
is what
never
we're
know.
trying to get.
50 to 25, it seems like, I agree with your original number, 25.
Okay.
Let's
And
see
then
what-
if that doesn't fly, then we,
I think we
drop
better-
it way down to whatever the price of the property's worth. And we zoned it business, so it's gonna be a little bit more than residential with a quarter acre.
I think we can get 25 out.
I think that's, on the high side, but somewhere between 20 and 25, I would think. So, well, I'd like to make the motion that we put the Morse House up for bids again, with the minimum bid to be 25,000.
I'll second that.
Any discussion or questions on that subject?
And we said that that land, there would be no point in hanging on to it because,
Well,
We're
one,
just
if
worried.
we had to remove the house, it would probably cost us $15,000 to $20,000. I'm guessing right in that range.
because we'd have to actually have a demo, we couldn't donate it to the fire department to have them do a training burn on it.
I don't think anything will burn much. It's pretty solid
Right.
rock.
Yeah,
Yeah, for that cheap?
yeah, yeah. For what we got.
It's got a solid brick wall
Full
inside,
of
so.
asbestos, too.
Yeah.
I think we got, what, 70,000 village dollars into it?
$70,000 or $80,000 village dollars.
I think it's time to cut loose.
Any other discussion or questions before we go to a roll call?
Do we need to put in there as is?
It's already in.
Is it, okay.
Roll call, please.
Derek,
Yay.
Todd,
Yeah.
Renee,
Yay.
Bob,
Yay.
Tim,
Yay.
Chuck.
No.
All right.
It's 5-1.
Thank you. Bear with me for a second.
Just before we move on, I assume it's council's pleasure to advertise that and run it and bid it as soon as possible. We'll just roll it.
Yes.
Yes.
We could- Let's put a sticker on it.
Okay.
Wait for $1 sticker.
Move on to the mayor's report. Mayor's report for April 18, 2011. Under the heading of meetings, I've been involved in several meetings and have had correspondence with many people on behalf of Amelia Village since the last meeting, including but not limited to the following: Police Chief Super, representatives from the Union Township Fire Department, Fiscal Officer Kevin Pyle, Village Solicitor Laura Abrams, Pat Madel from CDS Engineering, Vice Mayor Bob Pollitt, village staff and police personnel, as well as village residents. Under the heading of zoning, we continue to struggle to stay on top of zoning issues within the village. With the current staffing levels and workload, it is all we can do to keep up with responding to resident complaints and questions. As I drive through the community, I see many violations that are going unenforced. And while it is not my wish that our residents be cited for any violation, it is my wish that they be in compliance. That being said, I have growing concerns that if this continues to go unattended to, it will be impossible to get a handle on this in the future. And because we're basically putting out fires, there's no opportunity to engage in proactive enforcement or even really to work with people. I have concerns at this point that A, any proactive enforcement could be considered selective enforcement, or B, as long as these issues continue to go unattended to, the extent where the curb appeal of our village is degraded. Let me read that over again. As long as these issues continue to go unattended to, the extent where the curb appeal of our village is degraded, and perhaps home values as well, in an economy where home values are already being affected, anything that can be done to keep values up could have a positive effect, or at least it would not hopefully have a detrimental effect. This is a recurring message, but I'd like to urge council, finance committee, et cetera, to explore options for solving this very important issue. Next header I have is under the Morse House. The ad, we just talked about it. The ads were placed in Cincinnati Enquirer starting February 28th and ran for 5 consecutive Mondays, with the last run on March 28th. Bids were to be received up till 4 p.m. today. 0 bids were received. There was some discussion at the last meeting regarding the sidewalk policy and bond status. Laura informed me there is no bond to cover the cost of repairs, and we are still looking into the homeowners association issue as to whether or not there's any responsibility there. I do know that I think Rick's going to make a report tonight that some of the sidewalk repairs have been made. Under the heading of Church Street grant application and street paving plan. At the March 21st, 2011 Village Council meeting, Pat Madel from CDS was on hand to discuss whether or not council wanted to reapply for the grant to repair Church Street. The grant had been previously awarded to Amelia, and the village could not move forward at that time. The filing deadline for the grant is June. Just wanted to follow up with council, see if there's any discussion on or any direction on how to proceed.
What was our possible matching dollar?
Up to about $60,000 or $70,000.
Yeah,
I
because.
think he said it's closer to 80.
Yeah.
It was in the 70s
The
before.
longer you
Yeah.
wait, the higher it goes.
Guys, I just don't foresee us having that kind of money.
Well, it wouldn't, I agree with you there, but it wouldn't hurt to investigate it and see just exactly what we have available to use, like bonding or something.
I will say that the last time I went through this process, the grant was awarded and I went to Bill, and Bill was still here as a consultant. It was before he was a full-time employee. And I asked him if we could, if he could investigate to tell us whether or not funds would be available, if we could safely sign a certificate of availability of funds guaranteeing that we'd have the money for our part of the work. He indicated at that time that he was not comfortable with doing that. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but any one of you is more than welcome to contact him after the fact, months after the fact, after he got his feet more planted on firm ground here. He indicated that while perhaps the dollars were not there, because of the value of the work and because of the overall status of the village, he felt like it might be something worth considering pursuing a loan for. I'm not going to pretend to know the ups and downs of that. I'm just passing on that information. I'm sure Bill could explain in more detail if you wanted to shoot him off an email or something, but or ask Kevin actually. But he seemed to think at that time, he basically said if I knew then what I know now, I would have recommended that we pursue some financing for it. So I just wanted to put that out there for council for food for thought.
I think that's something we should look at and definitely discuss in
Yeah,
our
because
finance meeting. Just
that's a
to
bad situation.
start checking it out and seeing what avenues we have.
We'll just ask that the finance committee move as quickly as you can with the filing deadline of June. So the direction that I need to follow up with Pat, let him know how to proceed. I'm just going to tell him that finance committee is going to meet when?
Should be our
Doing
next.
next Monday, our next meeting, prior to the next meeting. It'd be at 6 p.m.
May 2nd?
Yes.
First.
Then after initially starting discussion on it, we'll probably have to do a Saturday, probably somewhere in there like
To
we
follow up.
Okay. All right, so I'll let him know you begin discussion on that on May 2nd. The grant application, I think, is pretty well prepared. Be some modifications perhaps, and perhaps some engineering modifications, but the way I understood it, it looked like it was going to be an easy task. So I'll let Pat know that information. Would it be of any help to you guys if Pat were there?
Probably not at the first one anyway.
He pretty much gave us all what details we needed.
Okay.
I wonder if we ought to have
If
the
not-
David Township to be there, since they're paying for part of it.
Their portion is very small.
Yeah, but maybe make it bigger.
Well, they're only going to pay for what land that applies to them. Understand what I mean?
Yeah, I understand that, but by the same token, do they have a commitment to do that? If we do our part, I mean, like, it goes
Well, I
down the
mean-
middle, we do our side, and they don't do theirs, you know what I mean?
Well, they're interested in being part of it. They've been on the record in their meetings that they're interested in
Okay.
being a part of it.
Okay.
But again, the longer you wait, the greater likelihood is they'll reprioritize their dollars. because they're gonna try to be making grant deadlines for them. So, we'll just ask that the committee
We
What
do
we
it.
do
Now,
move
is this
swiftly.
something that the county, sort of like we had discussed at our rec meeting, something the county would do some kind of grant like we had talked about? Forget what it was called.
Community development.
Community development grant.
Perhaps.
Is it
It's
something that would
It's
be
something that he's
eligible?
looking at.
Okay.
I mean, it's an OPWC grant that we're applying for. I don't know if the community, I don't know if that falls under those guides, but
Okay.
that's something that's really a question for Pat, I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
Pertaining to Pat, what we'll do is if we have questions, we'll submit it back to
Either-
yourself
Yeah,
and then.
send them off to me, or if you think of them between now and then, send them to me and I'll get them answered, so you have the questions answered when you go to your meeting.
That's fine.
Fine.
Honestly, my biggest concern is the time. All right. Follow up on discussion with street paving plan. Mr. Mato also asked that council consider having CDS prepare a street paving plan in an effort to avoid having to do multiple repairs at one time. The last meeting on this issue, council provided no input. Is there any interest from council to research this matter further? Just want to open it up for discussion.
Have we performed an inventory of our streets?
Yes. Rick, you've got inventory of our streets, don't you?
Yeah.
And didn't you have a preliminary, like a street paving plan that you thought made sense? Didn't you do some?
We worked on, we never completed
Yeah.
it, we can do that. And I mentioned it in this week's report that there are several streets that are in very much need of crack filling. Others, that's not going to do any good, it's going to have to be repaved, they're so
Yeah.
deteriorated. But I can put the list together and give you a report within the next couple of days.
I guess my big concern was so much of the new developments, well, not new developments, even Quail Creek and Sedona Ridge are the areas that I have the most knowledge of, because it's what was developing when I came here.
That's
They
the
were all-
first ones.
They came in about the same time. And that's a lot of streets that'll all start to show degradation around the same time. That's why I think it's important to have a plan of some sort. So.
Well, we could at least listen to what he has to say as far as his plan is concerned, because I don't have a clue.
Right.
Well, I
I
think
know
we
we
should
did-
let Rick
We
kind of
talked
come up
about
with his
Yeah.
ideas first.
That'd
and
work.
Yeah.
Then we'll have some information to proceed after.
Okay.
Well,
Get that.
I'm just gonna throw this out there, and I've talked to Rick about this in advance, and this is not in any way a slight on Rick and his job here. But Rick's never done a street paving plan for a community. And while I value the work that Rick does here, I think there's some credibility and value to be had by having some assistance with an agency that actually knows how to do it.
Yeah, but how many thousands of dollars does it cost to get them to come in and do
Well,
that? as
he threw a
opposed to-
figure out there, I think.
Yeah,
$12,000.
Well, everything comes at a cost.
yeah.
And experience costs.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think that, oh, go ahead.
Yep. In our finance committee meetings, we discussed when we were talking about public works, with how Ricky has been doing with his budget and, really, keeping the quarters down to dimes and nickels.
Mhm.
Going into the next upcoming year, we could probably look into his budget being able to support that. They have a street repaving process. So I don't know at what point we want to look into it, but I know that much that we were headed towards that direction. Now, how much of the money that was gonna be devoted to it, we don't know yet. But we were leaning towards that direction.
How many miles of road we got, Rick?
Please?
How many miles do we have
I believe it's 15 road miles.
right now?
I would have to go back and look, but I believe it's 15 right now. We have lost streets that's not dedicated yet and things like that. So in order to drive through the village and get the count, it would probably be necessary to give you an accurate because we're picking up like Charlie and things like that over there. Plus, if we do take the area that's Wooded Ridge area over here, there's a lot of streets back in there too that's being developed, which will add to the totals.
I think I'd like to see Rick's initial evaluation, see what he thinks is gonna be failing first, and then at least have that to look at before we, talk to engineering service, just to see, like Rick, Tim had said, Rick's budget's looking pretty good for next year. There might be something there then, so. But initially, I think I'd like to see what Rick can put together on, which streets might need to be done first.
Is that a motion?
I'll make that motion then.
I'll second it.
Would you repeat it, please?
Which part do you want?
Get an initial evaluation of our roads from Public Works Department.
Regarding street paving plan, as it pertains to street paving?
And of course, next to be sidewalk.
Yeah, but that's something that we need to discuss.
Right, it'd be actually a comprehensive plan of the problem.
Would you have a date, tentative date you want that completed by?
Next
Tomorrow.
Monday.
Monday, okay.
Tomorrow works. Get on that, Rick.
How about,
Earliest convenience.
Can you get done tonight?
I'll work on it.
All right, we have a first and a second, correct? Let me know when you're ready for a roll call. Kevin,
I am ready.
roll call, please.
Derek?
Yeah.
Todd?
Yeah.
Renee?
Yay.
Bob?
Yay.
Tim?
Yay.
Chuck? Yay. All approved.
All right, thank you. Next item I have is Amelia Junk Day. In years past, council has contracted with Rumpke for Junk Day in Amelia. A day where residents can put out anything on the curb and Rumpke takes it away.
Before you get up.
Yeah, before you get ahead, before you even get up, the junk collectors picked a lot of it up. This year's quote was $7,000. Last year was $6,000. The way this was paid for last year was by dollars that were remaining in the now defunct waste levy fund. There's currently $29,249.63 in the waste levy fund. For 2011, $500 have been appropriated to spend. The balance left on that appropriated amount is $121.48. The reason I'm bringing this question before council, we're already receiving calls from residents asking when junk day is. Just want some direction from you on how to proceed.
And bear in mind, we have half again as much this year as we had last year. Probably, close to it. Well, I think we should do
We
it.
have any clue on participation? The participation,
Apparently.
Does, didn't the junk day coincide with, yard sale?
It's usually the week after the yard sale.
Okay.
I think we should still do it too.
I do too.
The amount of stuff that goes out is pretty huge. And it's a service we need to give the residents.
Well, it's money that the existing taxpayers already paid to a fund for waste services. Money can't be used for anything else. It's sitting there for purposes of
Waste.
waste.
Yeah.
So we need to appropriate more money to cover that. Is that what we need to do, since it's saying we have 121.48?
So would the first step then be to,
First step would be for council to approve the junk day, and then the next step would be to pass a supplemental appropriation for the estimate.
at the upcoming meeting?
Or you can do it tonight.
Oh, can you pass it tonight? Okay.
So I don't believe appropriations need to be read 3 times or anything.
They've typically done them by ordinance,
Okay, well,
so, yes.
if you've done it by ordinance, then you have to follow that procedure.
Mhm. So at the next meeting, there'll be an ordinance. Just looking for direction from council.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve junk days if we need a motion for that.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Derek,
Yeah.
Todd,
Yay.
Renee,
Yay.
Bob,
Read, yeah, yeah. How about put reading and dog at the
Yeah.
same time?
Chuck.
Yeah.